How do we name molecular compounds? Well, the first thing we need to know is it a molecular compound? So first, determine if it is molecular. And this means it only consists of nonmetals. If there are any metals in your compound, then you know it is ionic and you have to name it as an ionic compound. But we have to look first to see if it is molecular. If it is molecular, we need to name it using Greek prefixes. And these prefixes are the following. So 1 is mono, 2 is di, 3 is tri, 4 is tetra, 5 is penta, 6 is hexa, 7 is hepta, 8 is octa, 9 is nona, and 10 is deca. And well, how do we use these prefixes? So let's look at an example. So we'll look at C2H5. Well, how would we name this? So we look at our first element. Our first element is carbon, and we have 2 carbons. The prefix for carbon is di, so we write dicarbon. And then we see that we have 5 hydrogens, so we'll write tetrahydride. Notice that the naming works just like the ionic compounds in that the element at the end of the compound gets an "-ide" ending. So all of the other elements, maybe there's 3 or 4 elements in your compound, the only one that gets an "-ide" is the one at the end. Let's look at another example. In this case, I have a carbon and 2 oxygens. Well, carbon, there's 1 carbon, so you would think I would use mono. The thing is, elements at the beginning, if there's only 1, do not get the mono prefix. So we'll actually just say carbon, and then we have 2 oxygens, so we'll write dioxide. So we have carbon dioxide as our second compound. So the first element does not get the mono prefix if there is only 1 atom. Okay, and let's look at one more example, and this time we'll look at CO. What is this compound? Well, in this case we have 1 carbon at the beginning, so we write carbon, and we have 1 oxygen. Because that oxygen is not the first element, we do get to use the mono. And monoxide sounds a little weird, so we just shortened that to monoxide. So this compound is carbon monoxide. So just remember, if you have a molecular compound, meaning it only consists of nonmetals, you have to use these Greek prefixes in order to name them. Now let's practice going the other way. So what if I gave you the compound disulfur pentafluoride? How would you figure out what this compound looks like? Well, disulfur tells you you have 2 sulfurs. So S2. Penta means 5. So and fluoride is from fluorine, so you would have S2F5. How about this one? let's do hexacarbon, trihydrogen, tetraoxide. So in this case we have 3 elements. Notice that the only element that has the "ide" ending is the last one. Carbon and hydrogen, their names stay the same. So what does this compound look like? Well, hexacarbon, hex means 6. So we have carbon with 6. Trihydrogen, tri means 3. So we have 3 hydrogens. And then we have tetraoxide, which tells us we have 4 oxygens. So our compound is C6H3O4. And that's all there is to naming molecular compounds. Just make sure you learn your Greek prefixes and you'll be all set.